had worked all this out already, but that wouldn't have been beneficial to what I wanted to show. I could also have, instead of this coming down, I could also have the sword coming at us, but then I'd have to foreshorten it a lot, so it'd look more like this, you know, and it might not look as cool coming straight at us like that. And so oftentimes foreshortening on swords look weird, and it's better to have them like going down or something. Just adds coolness to it. So I didn't cheat. I decided to go ahead and, you know, show you guys the whole process I go through when I'm thinking about a cool pose that's really different and I want it dynamic and I've never done it before. So now it's between these two ideas here. This is kind of cool, having her kind of turn sideways like that to us and a leg coming out, and then I'd have, you know, I can probably demonstrate more what that would look like here by resizing this whole thing. This way I can show you that forced perspective on the foot here. So I can really come down with that ankle and then kind of just bring that whole foot around, really exaggerate how big it would be. And the more exaggeration you do with, you know, small, big, that line right there, perspective line, just gonna really make it look crazy. And then if I also, you know, make this arm look way bigger than this one here, like really bring this arm out and everything, and exaggerate the angles and details and all that, then I would have a fake forced perspective, because that can't be possible. If I want this foot to be big in a real perspective, like with a camera, I'd have to imagine the camera's down focusing on the foot and it's kind of looking up at the character a bit, so then I'd have to draw, you know, some undersides of her shoulder here and her armpit, you know, and then, you know, more of the underside, everything up here, and all this would also get smaller as you go up. But if I keep all this the same size but just bring this bigger and kind of bring this out, that's a fake forced perspective, which is really cool looking, I think. So I would decide on these two poses which one I would want, and maybe even a third pose, because I like this here better. I really like this whole look here, the arm coming out the way it is. You'd see the elbow. You can just really get a nice cool on the arm, and then I'm thinking maybe her sword can be in this hand instead, and I can really come out with it like that and exaggerate it. Do the face force perspective on the sword that way, then on her feet over here on that foot, and then I just have this arm back here somewhere, so her shoulder would be coming like that. I'd see her other shoulder over there, and then her arm can be coming off in the background, something like that. That can look pretty cool. So that's the process how I work through it. I'd probably go with this pose here, but both these poses are pretty cool, and so I'll probably go ahead and save them, and then when I decide to add a character to them ever, I have poses to look at, and eventually you'll just develop this huge sheet. You just want to keep saving them to the same sheet or to a folder or something, and eventually you'll have all these different poses you can choose from when you decide to add a character to it. So it's really cool to, you know, to work in this process, and that's kind of, you know, the thought process I work through. And I would want, let's say this pose here, I'd really want to force the perspective, so I really would make this all smaller like that, and then I would even probably bring this out longer and bigger. I'd just really, you can get really unnatural with it if you want. You don't have to stay to any conventional rules and stuff. So really just exaggerate the hell out of that pose, and it's like, now look at that arch. That arch is just like, wow, that's really cool. And then you can bring the sword out even further now, like this, and it's just like, that's pretty crazy, but I think it looks kind of cool, so I'd probably go with that. Actually, I kind of like that. And then it gets all small up there, and so that's pretty neat. Really exaggerate that and just like explosive. It's pretty cool. Thank you for watching. You know what? I'm not done. I'm gonna go ahead and save this one out. And you know, even though I don't really like that arm behind her back thing and the sword, I could easily change this one too, to where she has like something here or something. It can be a different character. I can always imagine that arm disappearing, or that arm kind of see some of the shoulder, and then it's coming back here. Yeah, I like that better. So I won't be able to use this pose for what I was going to do with my ninja chicks. I had specifically wanted the and notice they're more gestures than they are poses, but kind of some of her back you'll be able to see a little bit there, and then I'm going to come out here. Actually, that's way too long, so stop right about there, and then that will be where her hand is doing something. I don't know what it's doing, but anyway, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And how I do it is I just, copy what I want. I go to File, New, Edit, Paste, and then save it. Okay, and I can go ahead and delete that since I'm not using any more on this paper. I can then get rid of all this over here as well since I don't need it. Take this character here. I'm going to duplicate it, bring it over here, and I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation. And this way I can just see it as this different color, and I can sketch on top of it and change stuff because I want to still make it more dynamic. So like I said, I really like that arch. That arch is really cool. Let me try to come, man, what the heck. Sometimes it's really hard to do these kinds of arches even on a Cintiq because it doesn't feel quite like paper, and sometimes those arches are hard at this angle. Anyway, so I like how everything pretty much looks on everything. So now I just want to start, think about things I can exaggerate. And let's see here. So I really want to be able to see. I'm getting too sloppy. Hold on. I really want to be able to see part of this stomach. I really want the stomach to kind of come out like that, almost like she's gonna be like this, like it's lazy. And so that's another thing. I'm kind of like that, right? So I want that curve. So from up here where shoulder comes around, I'm thinking of this gesture line. I really want that gesture line like that. So I want that to be exaggerated, or belly button to be right about there. I'm gonna make it big so I can see it, just for now. And then I'm gonna come out here with my leg. And then I'm thinking part of her rib cage, everything would be there. Then part of her hip would be here. And I'm going to kind of imagine where her leg would be more like that. See, I need that slight thing right there. Sometimes it's like, notice that it's not, it curves, slight curve right there. You got to keep that anatomy in mind. So if I were to exaggerate that, it's like that. And then, I would come in for the knee. I would come out here, and this is where I really want to exaggerate. I want to exaggerate that curve right there and that curve right there. So exaggerating all that just looks a lot cooler, I think. Remember that when you have your ankles, and the best way to remember that the inside's higher. So I don't know, one way to kind of think about that and to memorize that, when you look at the calf, then you have your leg like this, let's say. Inside is your higher ankle, outside is your lower ankle. Then you kind of have this crest for your foot there. You might be able to see some of your heel back there. It would come around, you'd have, kind of basic shape of your foot like so. And I don't know, the way I think about it is inside is higher. I don't know why that sticks in my head, but like inside is better than the outside, almost like, I don't know, pool or something. Oops. But because of the angle here, it might actually make it look like this ankle is higher, even though it's technically not. The angle which it's being drawn at might make it look like that. So might not even be able to see that. It might be more heel than ankle anyway. And so I'm thinking if I really exaggerate that foot come out, and she's gonna have her ninja shoe anyway. So something like that. So I really exaggerate that foot, really make it come out. And then I might want to really exaggerate this leg over here, like exaggerate the curves and make it unnatural. You don't have to, when you're working, like especially with cartoons and stuff, you don't have to worry about it being all realistic. Notice that, see, that's totally unrealistic how it comes up like that, but it looks cool. So you also got to think about cool factor. You're not just, going for realism. You obviously want some realism there. You want it to look like it's a real person and everything. With a lot of things as you're doing it, now I can turn this, oops, oh, I'm working right on top of it. Well, that's a bummer. That's okay, because I should do this on a separate layer, but I didn't. And so I'm just going to keep working out that pose, and then I know, the hand will be here. And I'm not going to see her thumb. Her thumb's going to roll out in back of us. What I am going to see is part of that little finger. And just to add some cool relaxing to it, I'm actually going to have her little finger not wrapping around but kind of sticking out. And then make this, this knuckle and that knuckle more exaggerated as it comes around. And actually that's too big. I'd have to work with a smaller brush, but I don't feel like it, so I'm just going to kind of wing where that would be. And then like her hand would kind of, oops, come like so. And then, so her shoulder kind of be like this. I'm going to come out here, and then her, oops, that's way funky and exaggerated. I'll have to elongate that a little bit, I think, and make her hand smaller. But the handle part will be on that side. You could even add exaggeration here. Because it's all about curves. Since this curve is coming out towards us, this curve here is coming out towards us, I could make that curve coming away from us like an opposite curve, so it kind of goes like an S. S's are always pretty. Or I can continue with this and bring it this way. And I just have to decide, not that far though, what looks prettier. And let me think about that for a moment. I don't know which one looks better. That looks kind of cool. And then remember that part of her face will be hidden here. At this point, I'm still not going to be adding on character or anything. Her eyes would be like right about here maybe. Let me go ahead and really bring where the eyes would be, and then her head. Oops. Damn. There we go. You might see part of her neck right here, and then you might see part of her breast come out that way. And then the other breast is going to be back here but hidden. And then you might be able to see part of it. Not bigger breasts, you might be able to see part of it under her arm there. You can even have her arm smashing against it. And I wanted to exaggerate that, but not so much so. Alright, so there we go. That's how I'm going to exaggerate. That's too much. I want to exaggerate that angle though. I'll end up exaggerating all that when I actually do the final drawing on it. But something like that. So notice I'm just kind of curving. So when I draw the arm, I'm just kind of doing this kind of curve like that, and then the shoulder, and then thing like that, and then a hand. And so it's totally unrealistic, but it looks cool, and the way I did it in here, I think. Then I'm going to come out with this. And there we go. I'm going to call that pose done. Now I can always draw a good drawing over that pose. So I hope you enjoyed this series. That's if I end up putting it on there. I'm going to first do a speed version, which you guys will have to vote on whether or not you want to see the real-time version of this series. I'm not even sure what to call it yet. Thank you for watching.